Hi, my name is Kirtan, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about my back story, or the story of my back injury. And I think a lot of you will be able to relate to certain aspects of my story. So I'll start with the trigger incident. The trigger incident was me carrying a few bags of groceries from Trader Joe's on the Upper West Side in Manhattan. Hailed a cab, opened the door. I had to bend over and reach across the seat to set them down on the floor of the taxi. And so in the act of bending over and twisting with weight in my hands, I felt my back sort of go out. And it was an acute pain. I felt like I had to lay down immediately. I sort of crawled into the cab and somehow made it home, laid in bed all weekend in pain. And I tried to teach. I had to get up Monday morning and try and teach, and it was very difficult to put on my socks and shoes, and this injury nagged me for a couple years after that. And it came and went, and it had different intensity levels. So that's the trigger incident. And everyone who's had a serious back injury will have that story of, oh, I did this and my back went out. But very often there's so much that predates that. There's so much else that happens, and these things build up over days, weeks, months, in my case, a few decades. Prior to that, what had been going on is a very, very hot summer in New York City, and my apartment didn't have air conditioning, and I wasn't sleeping at night. It was so hot and stuffy in my place, and I was sort of going nuts after a few nights of not being able to sleep and going out in the heat of Manhattan and running around and teaching yoga all day, all over town. So my body was exhausted. I was physically and emotionally drained when that trigger incident happened. If I go back in the months before that, I had been out in California, and a family member was in the midst of a pretty serious drug and alcohol binge, and I had flown out there to try and help him, and I felt like I was watching him die, and he was doing it to himself, and there was nothing I could do to stop him, and it was very sad. It was very difficult emotionally for me, and there was a lot of stress and anxiety in watching that happen, and that had been going on all year also. So many of you out there, if you think back prior to your back injury or that trigger incident, you'll recall, you might be able to identify a buildup of some sort of stress in your life and something that was causing a lot of anxiety, insomnia, whatever. Prior to that, of course, I was playing rugby at UCLA. You see my shirt here. And I started playing when I was 18, my freshman year in college, and I was playing positions that were very violent and very physically damaging for spines, for necks, for shoulders, and for lower back. Played prop for 2 years and then flanker for a year. There's a lot of hitting, of course, no pads, and I was damaging my spine in ways that I didn't even realize would affect me for my lifetime. And when you're 18 or 19, of course, you're invincible. That's not gonna, you walk it off, and you crawl home, and the next day you go out and play again. So I was doing that 18, 19, 20 years old, and I think there was some definite repercussions in my spine that I'm still feeling today, but that were also a contributing factor to my back, quote unquote, going out. And predating that, high school football didn't help. Some of my neck and shoulder injuries started there, but so in my back injury story, this sort of developed over about 20 years. There was a physical component, and for some of you that's postural related, a car accident, sitting in your car at your desk for 8-10 hours a day. So there's a physical component. Then there's an emotional component, anxiety, stress, which sort of exacerbates all of these other symptoms when we talk about pain and discomfort in our body. And then finally there's that sort of proverbial, hey, the straw that broke the camel's back. And we say my back went out. I was doing this, and all of a sudden my back went out. So very often those injuries have this timeline, or there's sort of a lot of commonalities when you look at back injuries. These build up over time, and there's a trigger incident. And so many of you can identify with, I think, a lot of aspects of my story in your own way, and I've heard a lot of stories and talked to a lot of people, and these stories tend to have sort of very similar characteristics. But one of the things that did to me was that gave me a real deep understanding of what back pain feels like, what it feels like to be in back spasm, what it feels like to try and get out of bed when you're so stiff and so much pain in the morning. But what it also gave me as a yoga teacher was a profound understanding of how to help other people because of what I did for myself, and learning the poses, or learning what poses were going to help bring me out of pain, what sequences, what ways of dealing with my body were going to be most effective. And in doing so, I think I became really, really, really good at helping other people, and I conducted tons and tons of individual private sessions, a lot of group sessions in New York City and here in the Bay Area. So my own experience of back pain has led to me to be a much, much better teacher and much more proficient at helping others. So sign up today for the program. I know it will help you, and I would look forward to hearing from you about just how much it brought to your life. Thank you so much.